Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you may be, or good evening or good night. This is Jen at JensArtyInclinations, a place to create, share and play.
Hello. I really like the middle of this book page. So when I was doing this trifold, I thought I'd flip it a different way and bring you along for the ride. Alrighty. So on this piece, I've prepared all my bits earlier and I've done all the inking and so forth to try and save you from that. But what I did was I split a picture and I've got these little paper strips that I'm just doing as the background. I find that just an easy way, it's just an easy design to pull a little page together if you just do a single strip up the page. But anyway, in any second, you'll see what I'm talking about. So I had this little picture of duckies or maybe swans. I can't quite remember. Maybe duckies, I guess. And if you have a close look, it's actually the one picture that I've split in half, like just snipped. And then I've inked around the edges. And so, just a little bit of a design element, but such an easy thing that anyone can do, just as an easy way to do your flips. There you go. J Bear agrees in the background. He is my strongest critic. Alrighty, so quite simply laying these, and it's like they're sitting on a little paper ribbon and it pulls both sides of that flip together. So anyway, I just thought that was a cute little technique. So I put a little, as you can see, in the top middle there, I just punched out half a circle to make a little thumb tab so that, people knew that it was opening up more. Now, to open the first part of the flip though, I just used a couple of little offcuts. So a little offcut from a book page, a little offcut from some kind of a decorative pattern piece. There you go. And now there's the cat. Everybody's very noisy here today, everyone. All right, so that was, again, just a simple way to show that you're opening that first part of the page. Yes, hello, kitty cat. I know you're there. Alrighty, now, where was I? I'm terribly confused. So I decided I'd make it a nice, strong little tab. And I like this, we do lots of decorative tabs and so forth, but sometimes just a little strip of paper folded in half, and that's all we need to do. It's actually practical and it's easy, and it uses a lot of those little offcuts that we get from time to time. Quite handy and practical, really. Now, as you can see, I put way too much glue on, so I just used a tissue to mop it up. And, I actually first saw that technique over at Kylie's Card Craft, that she always has a cloth or something handy that she'll press down her glue pieces. It's so clever. And the bone folder just makes sure that the glue is spread nicely and that it's all sort of burnished together quite well. Now, what I decided to do on the inside was, I thought, a nice little journaling spot. I love getting little extra journaling spots, and I wanted it to kind of flip itself out and fold out. So all it is the journaling spot that's going to be flipping out, but I just thought that was still quite fun. Makes it a nice thin flip that you can put into anything. And these were just some coffee dyed paper that I'd cut up for some strips off the edge that I'd sized down to a slimmer journal book that I made up, which, you can see how I'm just pulling it down to flip. So that was what I came up with. I thought I'd join the two pieces together, add a bit of an extra flippy bit onto it. Flippy, floppy, flappy, flippy, flap. Okay, so all I'm going to do is just use glue sticks. Glue sticks actually can be quite a good item for joining paper because you don't get any chance of lumpiness underneath your paper piece. So if you're writing on them, they can be quite handy, quite cool. And sometimes, they're a little bit less messy, so that's helpful as well. And then I thought the middle one, can flip up and down, and the one on the side, I thought I'd just make a single flip up. So I'm using my glue stick. I'm just putting it on my mat, and I'll use, baby wipes to just clean up the mat after. So, that's easy. But what I'm kind of doing here is I'm just looking at it in the light, and where it's not shiny, I know I've missed some of the glue stick because it doesn't always go evenly all the way across your page. And I do find it always works if I cover the whole thing completely. So I don't always do that. Sometimes I just want the edges. But on this one, I wanted it really nice and super affixed to the inside of the flip. So there you go. I'm putting that down, and I'll use my bone folder again, and that will just spread the glue, make sure it's got a really nice contact with that paper. So doing a nice movement like that, and then I'll usually burnish it. And then burnishing it down. And that is how you make your glue stick work as a really good fixing agent. And so, I'm using that on this. So here on the longer one, I'm first just putting that little tab in before I actually go and put the whole piece down. So making sure that that tab is really nicely put in. And then I've got a little bit of wiggle room still, so just making sure that I've got it lined up nicely. So a bit of a fluke, wasn't it? Hey, how those two work to be exactly the same width? No, it was because the pages that I pulled them off were exactly the same width and I'm not really describing that very well. Should we just forget I said all that? We'll just go on to the next bit. All right, so again, I'm just gluing down. So on this one, there is a slightly different surface. Obviously, there's that teeny ridge where there's that double piece of paper on the tab that's attaching the two pieces to make the long piece. And I checked it in the light again, and then I did the inside to make sure that it was all really nice and covered. And that was kind of even more important because you've got that double paper piece in this bit. So all good. Using the little tissue trick again, because believe it or not, even with glue stick, if you're making sure that you've covered your surface properly, like I have there, you can actually get some seepage out of that. So then I'm trying to remember, what am I doing? Oh yeah, that's right. That's how I'm flipping it. Got myself all confused. It's very, very easy to confuse me. All right, so then I decided that I didn't want to add too much decoration on the outside. So I decided I'd just do some watercolour instead, just to highlight that circle bit. I love that sort of technical circle. It's sort of astronomical, a bit of astronomy sort of feel, or a bit of maths, or even a bit of mappage. There's a little hint. So I just did the two blues on the inside, and then I just added a little bit of brown, which was rather like a burnt umber, around the outside, just to give it a little bit of contrast. And I decided I'd do a cluster. Now see, that is a split pin that's gone through the cluster. And when I do that sometimes because then you can just change what you put on top of it. So that adds, a little bit of fun. The funny part is I've actually lost the tab to show that you open it. However, it's, still cute. It's a little bit of rustic fluffiness on the edge there. So I'm still going for it. And I'm just blotting off, the edge of the watercolour there. And of course, I did get a little bit of glue on the back, so I'm making sure that, it doesn't stick. Now, while I had the watercolours out, I thought I would just do the little water around the edge of the duckies, which is cute. And it does just make them pop a little bit. Any excuse to add watercolour. I just love playing with watercolours. Does anybody else love playing with watercolours? I mean, I do some paintings, like some proper paintings with them every so often. But I got to say, I just find any excuse to get out the watercolours because they are just really enjoyable. I mean, sometimes I'm simply playing with swatches, testing out colours and all that sort of thing, or, just painting shapes on a page. I just love watching the way that the different colours mix and the way that they play with the water, the way that, you add more water or less water, dry brushing, wet brushing, all that different stuff that has proper technical names, that at the end of the day is just us mucking about and playing with the water. So obviously, being watercolours, they needed to be dry, so I did use my heat dryer just to dry them off a little bit. Gee, I love that device. Now, when I used the heat dryer, I knew that may release the glue a little bit again, so I just burnished it down with my bone folder, and that is some gorgeous brown baking paper that I found at Superbarn. How cool! I love it. So I'm just been doing so many things with that, just so much fun to play with. But yeah, just obviously use that to push them down, because then I wasn't going to move anything, and it just sort of like how you iron through a wet cloth sometimes. Anywho, this is the page that I decided that I would pop it on, and it was very hard to remember to do that flap. So see those 3 brown splotches? They were like my way of doing an X when I was inking to say, Jen, this is the tab that you're going to stick down. Like, don't do anything on this tab. Because what happens is I come up with all these plans and then I forget what I came up with and then I muck it up at the end. So I got to do all these little things along the way just to help me work it out. So there you go. There is my little very lovely thin flip fold. So what is it? A trifold. And it flips and flaps, and I think it's lots of fun. I thought you might enjoy too. Have a go. So next time you've got those offcuts, try doing this. Or next time you've got a image that you like in the middle of a book page, try doing it this way instead. Take care, everyone, and I will see you soon. I'd love it if you could leave me a comment below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed what you saw today. And of course, please subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you next time. And in the meantime, keep creating. Enjoy!